Jace Denman for Flag Family Media, and I'm here with head football coach of your MSUM Dragons, Steve Laqua. Coach, today's a big day. It's National Signing Day for high school recruits. You've got another full class. How many student athletes did you get this time?
Well, looking at 35, I think we'll have 36 kind of roll in here a little bit later today or in tomorrow. With the big senior class, one of the biggest we've had. I think really important that we had enough depth in this class to be able to replace that and build. I think another thing, you look at last year's class, we feel really good about their development at this point, and so critical to get two good classes in a row put together that are of quality depth, not necessarily just targeting certain positions of needs, but across the board. And so two good classes back to back with depth. So we feel really good about where we are right now.
So before we get into some of the recruits for this year that are coming in as freshmen, obviously at least in the football program, a little bit different than the basketball program. A lot of times these guys will redshirt their freshman year, kind of get into the program for a year and develop before they really get their chance to shine on the field. There's some exceptions, as always. Go back and talk about the freshman class from last year. Obviously, they had progressed this last offseason. There was a couple guys, I believe, that did get some playing time. So what can we expect from that class that will be sophomores next year, or redshirt freshmen, to replace the guys that are leaving as seniors?
Well, it's going to be important because you had 24 seniors that are walking out the door, opening up positions. And so a lot of those guys that contribute on special teams, maybe they were a second or third team guy that was quality depth, maybe played 5 to 15 snaps in a game. You're looking at those guys of like, okay, you got to build upon that.
Yep.
And so for a lot of them, maybe it becomes, hey, it's going to be more special teams and it's going to be maybe 25 plays of defense. But it might be in some of the cases that 15 plays is going to transition to, hey, I might be in a starting role now and I might be playing 45 reps a game. And so I think that's certainly important. I think you look and go, well, the quarterback position is open. We had, basically 3 freshmen in last year's class. We had Drew Huebner and Joey Calais and Madden Riggs. Those guys have been in the system. Spring ball is going to be important. Well, obviously, we know we've got to replace Jack at quarterback. We can't get him back for another year. And so that quarterback room of everybody in there, freshmen or not, they're going to have to step up, and we're going to have to find somebody that can pull the trigger.
I know you're losing a couple offensive linemen, so obviously we had, I believe, at least one freshman that played a lot. And like you said, some of these guys are going from minimal rotation guys, a few snaps a game, to more. So obviously, offensive line has been something that's been important to recruit the last couple of years, because when we started covering the team a couple of years ago, it was a very young offensive line, a lot of freshmen, a lot of sophomores. Those guys really developed into a really nice unit. How do you replace some of those guys, Selheim along the front line there? I can't remember if it's Brady Olson or not, but we've got a couple guys
Brooks
that'll be
O'Brien.
Brooks O'Brien.
A lot of those guys from the 22 year that played football, you look at a roster, they've graduated and moved on.
Yep.
And so we have some guys returning, but that is a critical position, offensive line. You've got to develop not just the understanding of how to play the game, the technique of how to play the game. You've got to build your body into it. And so it is a process. It's very rare that you can have a guy come in and play early. We had some of those guys that just graduated did. You have a Manny Wilson that plays early, a Grant Erickson and a Nick Halgard plays early, but for the most part, that's the exception.
Sure.
And so we've got these guys that have to continue to develop, and it might be a thing. Hey, there's some openings. It might be by committee, and that's okay. It might be one of those things where, hey, we're rotating. We've got guys that can play different positions. We stay fresh. We stay on edge. We stay competitive. And so there's some good things with that. That's what spring ball's for. That's what fall camp is for. I like where we are, but if we're playing a game today, I'd be nervous.
Yeah.
We're not. We got a long way to go, and it's our job as coaches. We got to get them ready by the time we get to the first game.
First thing I want to just touch on before we get into some of these, because obviously everybody knows a lot of seniors, upperclassmen in that wide receiver room that need to be replaced going forward. Obviously, Jack Strand, a lot of talk about him. Obviously, playing in the American Bowl. We've seen a couple of your wide receivers, Brady Perryman, Gage Florence, working out, trying to prepare themselves, hopefully, for professional football. And then Jack Strand getting some buzz on the internet, maybe a potential draft pick, etc. Talk a little bit about those three guys in particular, because obviously getting them out there in the draft process and working out with these places gives more more spotlights on MSUM football.
Well, definitely excited for those three guys. I think football is something that you want to be able to play as long as you can. And you don't play pickup football games as you get older.
No.
So when it's done, and you try and keep it going as long as you can. And so I think obviously Jack getting in the All-Star game and doing a good job. The game I think was fine. The practices are always the most important thing. And by the sounds of it, and talking to some people, he did a really good job with that. He's got his pro day coming up, and so I think that'll be important. And the good thing about the pro day is it's an opportunity where both him and Brady Perryman and Gage can all do it together. So you're seeing Jack's arm out there, but you're seeing those guys run routes. And so I think those are important things. Anytime you can get specifically in front of scouts and they're looking at you, evaluating you, those are important, especially as you're getting closer. Then you hope you just get a chance. And if you get a chance and a chip in a chair, you just do what you can with it.
Varied kind of a number of recruits coming in this freshman class. We've seen a couple from West Fargo, Horace, all around the surrounding area. Fargo Davies, I think there's a commit. Grand Forks, we got a Castleton, a Detroit Lake. So a lot of times it's real local, but you've got some guys on there from out of state. I mean, there's a connection to a player out of Arizona that's coming this way. Obviously, there is a intriguing prospect coming out of Texas at the quarterback position. Maybe high school-wise, kind of a career path like Jack's, a primarily running type of system there, but obviously wants to sling the ball. And so you got him coming in. You got those freshmen you had last year. Then, oh, by the way, you got former Fargo Shanley Deacon Michael Rosberg, who's committed as a transfer. So talk a little bit about the transition in the wide receiver room and the quarterback room.
Well, definitely we've lost some production out of the wide receiver room, and so you want to be able to replace that. It's something we felt like we were trying to get ahead of the curve. We know it was going to be a senior class, dominant, but we also knew that we had Jack coming back. And so a year ago, we tried to be really heavy into wideout because we want to try and get as many tools around him as possible. And so not just tools around Jack, but you're looking, okay, well, who's going to be the successor? You want to have tools around them as good as possible. And so we did that last year. We tried to do it again this year. That's going to be a competitive room at receiver, and I think a talented room that, again, will take the pressure off whatever the quarterback situation ends up being. I think you look at quarterback, obviously intriguing. We'll maybe hit on a couple things there. The outside, the area connections. Coach Martin, our wide receivers coach, had a connection with Asher and his family kind of from a recruiting process at Mary, and so there was kind of a connection there. That gets another wide receiver in the room from out of area. Asher's dad was from North Dakota, so they've been back around Christmas time. They know
they know the weather.
Peyton from Texas. He's been up and originally recruited by NDSU, so he first is up here off of that visit, which kind of piggybacks into a visit with us and a junior day, and then camps, and camp can visit, and then he comes to a game this fall. And so he's been here a lot of times. He knows what he's getting. He's enrolled already, so he made it through the 26 below, whatever it was last week. So I think we're okay there. That's been good. Rosberg, obviously Fargo Shanley guy, he's got experience at playing at St. Thomas, splitting some time. He's in that mix. So we've got a great group of young guys to be able to pull the trigger. I believe that a lot of teams in our league would be happy to have the quarterback situation we have right now. Yes, there is no experience, but yes, there is a lot of talent. The right guys are going to rise up from that room. It's going to be a quality room, and we're going to be able to do it. And that might be by committee. Maybe it's one guy, but we're going to have guys that are going to be able to do it. Are they going to be Jack Strand? No, there's not another Jack Strand, but they can do it in different ways, each of their own. And then, at some point, we're going to say that. Years ago, we're like, oh, there's not going to be a Jake Hodge. Oh, there's not going to be another Jacob Sinani, another Demetrius Carr. You're like, okay, they're just different.
Yes,
so we've got to find a different version. I think we can. These guys have got their own spin. I think they learned from some of the best. Jack was great. Grant Workentine was great as a mentor. These guys are going to be ready when they finally get the chance to be able to do it for our team.
Well, when you look at the defensive side of the ball, I know there's some linebackers, some D linemen and such that have been recruited. Talk a little bit about those guys that you've recruited on the defensive side of the ball, because obviously there's always a heavy emphasis, at least in my opinion, a lot on the offensive side because you run this wide open system. But defense is obviously what's going to win you championships. And the defense last season really progressed as the season went along. So talk a little about the guys you're bringing in on the defensive side of the ball.
I feel like we found kind of our niche in some areas. If you look and go, what are guys that have made splashes on our team? The Denver Piowskis, the Devin Beaches, even Tibbetts comes in and makes plays. You're like, okay, we found some of those guys. Casey Nordic out of Horace is a player that can add value. He's disruptive. disruptive. Maybe he doesn't fit the box of the right height or the right weight or whatever, but he can disrupt the game. And so we have a system that allows those guys to thrive. Harrison Walker is a phenomenal player. Watch him at camps, and he goes against Division I offensive linemen, and at the end of the day, they can't stop him when he's pass rushing. It's just, it's great. You know what? Maybe they can win in the run game or whatever, but hey, guess what? You don't run all the time. And so if we can get him in packages in the right situation, he can cause disruptions. You look at guys that have a lot of kind of natural instincts of playing the game. Banjoko, Eli Thompson, Parker Hunter, like you watch those guys, they blitz, they play multiple positions, but when you watch them, they don't just blitz and run kind of eyes closed into somebody. They can blitz and understand, hey, should I bend and make the play, or do I need to abort mission? I'm blitzing the wrong spot, redirect and get somewhere else. And so those are things we do within our defense. Right. You see Zach Dahl do it all the time. Zach Dahl is disruptive because he can decipher what's happening on the run and either stay the course or redirect the course. And so there's some guys that's maybe not valued in other systems, but our system it is. And I think we've started to find some of those guys that really can thrive in that.
So now that signing day is officially here, all the paperwork has been signed. We got the announcement. We can go to the website, msumdragons.com. Go check out the list of players. You've got videos kind of breaking each player down, what you like about them, which is great. Obviously, it's still early in the day today somewhat for me, so there's a lot of videos to go through so far. But we have a guy that's in our building that is an accountant. And so he's working the night hours until April 15th, tax day. Is this one of those kind of days for the coaching staff that you get to this day and you finally get it, pen to paper, everybody signed, the paperwork comes through? Is this a little bit of a relief now that you've gotten signing day done?
I think it's, I don't know if I'd say relief. It used to be a relief. I think now it's exciting. You finally get to talk about these guys. We had all but 2 of these guys were committed by the end of December.
Right.
Over 80% were committed by the time the season was done. So it's been a long time in the waiting. Different than what it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You're right, it would be a relief. It's all the way. We are weekend after weekend, all through December, all through January. You make it and you're just like, whoa. Hey, we're ahead of the game in that standpoint. We're into the next year's class for the last month.
Yeah.
And so finally this gets to get finalized. We get to talk about it. It's an exciting day, and then we can kind of continue to move forward of drills, spring ball, you know, all the other things that come around with the program.
Well, it's always good for me because then I can finally ask you about these players, in an official capacity. So that's always nice, and we can hear from you directly. So, Coach, another exciting day for Dragon football. Look forward to finding more out about these players as we go along. And obviously, I know it's only February, but end of August, early September, we'll be here before you know it.
100%.
All right. Well, thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
This is Jace Denman for Flag Family Media, alongside head coach Steve Laqua of your MSUM Dragon football team. We'll talk to you soon.